Away
Hey,
we go. We are recording. Welcome to Over 50 Starting Over, everybody. I'm Barry Edwards.
and I'm Merle Garrison.
And we talk a little bit about some career stuff, how to improve our lives after 50, and current events and political stuff. And in no special order, kind of in that order. I don't know. But
It's
you know
kind of.
what? Merle, I was doing the other day was getting a rental car for our Florida trip.
Oh,
It's upcoming end of February,
end of February. Okay,
which
cool.
is also when my three guys move out. I messed that up. I am
Oh,
past that.
the timing there.
The timing's bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I was looking to try to get a deal. How could I get a deal with rental cars down there? And so I thought I'm a member of the AARP. They're always emailing. You get these
Oh,
benefits.
yeah. Wait a second. How old do you have to be an AARP?
50.
Oh, I don't think I'm a member.
Really?
Are you automatically a member or?
No, they automatically start sending you crap in the mail like at ridiculous quantities. And
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
really funny because when I was like just turning 50, I start getting all of these mailings and stuff. I'm pretty sure it's 50, but I just turned 55. It doesn't seem like it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, happy birthday to you, Barry.
Thank you.
Yes.
But so I started getting all these mailings and stuff, and Lisa's laughing at me. Her birthday, we're the same. We're exactly 30 days apart. Our birthdays. So she's laughing. Yeah. She was 30 days behind me on that.
That's great.
But anyways, so they always talk about all the many benefits you get. And there's one that I've been meaning to look up into some more. And that is, I just want to tell people because you might find it interesting. Consumer Cellular, they have these really low cellular contracts that, again, Consumer Cellular, you don't need to be part of AARP. AARP does this. They say that they give you all these benefits and stuff, but as I found, they're not that attractive. But Consumer Cellular, you could get like I pay about $105 to $110 a month for my iPhone service.
Yeah.
I already looked at Consumer Cellular, and my phone and AT&T, whatever, is all on that plan, is available, and I could pay like $40 to $50.
You're kidding me. Wait a second.
I got to get on
the same
that.
plan. It's the same plan.
Yeah.
And like more than 50% off.
Yeah. And what they do, so you could go as low as you want. They say,
Right.
and I talked to a rep too. I even called up a rep because I'm like, too good to be true kind of thing.
Right. It sounds like it.
They said that you could start with the lowest plan that'll if you go over it, it'll automatically give you the option to kick up to the next plan. So, and there's no contract. You could quit anytime. It's kind of so that's not even what I was going to talk about. I just thought about it as I was talking. I was looking to try to get a deal on rental cars. And so I go on to AARP and I also pulled up a couple sites and said, how do you get your best deal on rental cars? You can always find a ton of articles on this kind of stuff. And I scanned several of them and found the common denominators. And of course you go, what I already do, go to an aggregate site like Kayak. I like Kayak. Do you use that for travel?
I've never used it.
I like that a lot. It's my favorite. It's like a Priceline or something.
Yeah.
And so look at that. And then I pulled up a few of those deals.
Right.
And then I went to those same, like it'd be Budget Rent a Car and Avis. And I went directly to their sites and pulled up those quotes as well. I pulled up AARP's version of their deal, all in separate tabs.
Right.
And they were the highest. The AARP.
AARP was the highest.
So in that deal, in that particular so-called deal, that is very
so-called.
Yeah. But what I found is if you go to one of those aggregate sites and you go like, I don't know, scroll towards the bottom and you get one of these kind of deals where they don't tell you who the provider will be, like Hertz or Avis or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's how I got my best deal. I saved about $40 on the week. And then, when you pull it up, when you pay, it's Budget Rent a Car. Okay. I think, if I recall, but my point to that is what they do, this is another kind of an aggregate thing where they just
Right.
purchase quantities of deals that are coming up. It's why they can't tell you who the provider is going to be. You're getting a last minute car. They're purchasing cars that the providers know that they're not going to get their top dollar for, so they'll sell them off to these packages.
Right, right. I got
So
it.
that's the best
It's a
way.
good business plan there, but
Mhm.
budget rental car, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that was the one I ended up with. I didn't really
I see.
care which it would be.
Right, right.
So I just wanted to throw that out. And mostly, I'm kind of glad
Yeah,
I
yeah.
the consumer cellular thing. I think that's something that everybody could take advantage of.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I've rented from budget once before,
Mm.
but I've rented a lot of cars
Mm.
across the country, and
Do you
I've
have a
had.
preference on company?
Oh yes, I love it's Enterprise. I love
Yes.
Enterprise the best because I think is it Enterprise or is it National? I'm trying to remember. It's National actually.
Mm.
They're actually related. They're the same company. The thing I love about them is you get to miss the whole hassle of going up to the desk and messing around and everything. I'm a member with National. So what happens is you get to the airport, you go out to the executive aisle, I guess that's what they call it,
Yeah.
and you get your choice of like, I don't know, 50 cars that are there. You can just jump in any one of them and drive away, and that's
Oh,
yours. And it's all kinds of nice cars and everything. They take the hassle out of everything. You see all these people going to stand in the line over there,
yeah,
takes forever. That's one of the worst parts of travel.
it
Just getting in the
is.
car and taking off is awesome.
I agree with you, but wouldn't that be the difference between a consumer like me and a business person like you? Like your company is
I
paying
guess
for it.
so. Yeah, I
I'm
guess you're
sure
right
there's
about that.
quite a
Yeah.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, actually, the pricing isn't that bad over there.
Mm.
But when you're trying to find a deal, I don't know. I guess you can't really pick and choose.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's all business travel. But I still have the membership, so every time I travel, I pretty much choose National.
Okay, completely unrelated. Because when I was going and looking up AARP for the rental car and stuff, I saw this thing, and I don't want to even go through all the sappy stuff about 9 COVID-friendly dates to get beyond a Zoom interview. We could talk about that another time, but here's what I wanted to ask you, because the first one, I was like, oh, I've always been curious about this. An escape room. Have you ever done that?
An escape room?
Oh, you don't know what that is.
I remember a Jodie Foster movie called Escape Room, and they had a room in their house in case somebody invaded their house or broke into their house. Is that what we're
I
talking
think
about?
that's called a safe room.
Oh, it is.
No, dude, escape rooms are very popular now. I think they started with video games and I played them, where you'd be stuck in this room and you got to assemble clues and then stuff to assemble a tool that will then unlock this box to give you the next clue till you finally find the key or whatever to get out of the room. It's
Oh.
like a puzzle. Well, they make
Yeah.
them. There's live ones. There's one right down on Coventry, in Coventry Village now. And I've never been to
it's
it.
a business, and you go in and they trap you in a room, and you have to
Yes.
figure out how to get out.
So you do it like you could choose a group of friends, like a team,
Yeah.
and use teamwork to try to put together the clues in order to get out. I've never done that live. Like I said, I played a video game like that before.
Wow.
I love the idea. I like puzzles.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I was thinking.
I thought you would have done that. That's
No.
why I brought it up.
Yeah, it's an interesting. I don't think I would like it, to be honest with
Really?
you. I'm pretty sure I would not like that.
Are you claustrophobic?
I
Is that
found
it?
out a really hard way that I have a little problem with that.
There's a story there.
There is. So here it is. I went to I went to Hawaii. I've never gone there before. I finally got a business trip in Hawaii, but I decided, I'm going to bring Anne Marie out here, and we're gonna have a long weekend. So I brought her out. We had a great time. I'm a history guy, of course.
Mhm.
So she's like, "Hey, you want to go to Pearl Harbor? We're on Oahu." I'm excited about that. Never been to anything like this before, but I go over there, and of course, the big deal is everybody wants to go to the ship that sank. You can go right over the is it the Missouri, I think. Anyhow, that's the big attraction there. That's one of the ships is still there, and the people are the Arizona, I think it is, and they're still trapped below. We
They're
get there,
not
and
happy memories,
yeah, I got to tell you, this was not a positive experience for me. I thought this was going to be great. I got there. I'm very intuitive. And as soon as I opened the door and got out, I felt the spirit of complete depression and oppression. It was heavy. I felt anxiety. It just, as soon as I opened the door, I felt it was like a presence I could feel there. I know it sounds weird, but anyhow, so we couldn't go out to the Arizona right away. And they have this submarine there called I'll remember it in a second. You can go inside the submarine. Have you ever been on a submarine before?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I hadn't. And so I
For
thought
guys our height, I think that would be pretty bad.
Well, that's not what I was thinking. I was thinking, hey, World War II, I'm here. This is a famous submarine.
I would do it.
In World War II battles and everything. You can go in there. Okay, there's nothing else to do. All right, let's go in there. So the first thing that happens, we're on top of, and we got to go down below. We're going down below. I bang my elbow on the side of the ship. I mean, that thing is made out of lead. I thought I broke my elbow immediately. I stumbled down the stairs. I hit my head on something, which was also sort of like lead, and almost fell into a torpedo. There's a torpedo there. So they're like, go this way, and you got to go through the hatch. Okay. I see these movies all the time where guys are running through the submarine and everything, and they're jumping around and all. No. Just getting through the hatch was like being born again. I couldn't fit. It was like, go through the hatch,
See, that's always been my impression. I don't think a guy our size belongs in one of those.
No. Who are these guys that work in a submarine? They're pygmies. I mean, they said it must be the littlest guys. They showed me the captain's room, and I couldn't even fit through the doorway. I could never be a captain, I guess. So you know where all the crew is, and they got these hammocks. They're like hammocks for nursery school kids. And like, how could anybody fit on this? I'm listening to, it's 1,000 degrees down there. I'm listening to these headphones. They're talking about this terrible battle where the actual guys that were in the submarine had to be at the bottom of the sea while the Japanese were dropping depth chargers. I felt like I was at the bottom of the sea about to be imploded. I'm sweating. Anne Marie's like, oh, this is so great. And oh yeah, there's a million people in there too, all pressed up. Started to get out of here. I was never so happy to see the light of day when I came. I was down there for like 5 minutes. I mean, these guys are down there. They're down there for like months at a time. I'm down there for 5 minutes. I felt like I'd been through World War II. I need some therapy.
Anytime I see the inside of a submarine in a movie and stuff, I'm always immediately like, how do they do it? I couldn't do it. There's no way I could be down there for that extended period of time. No way.
Me either, Barry. And the other thing was, before you get on it, I think it's called the Bowfin. That's the name of the submarine. Before you get on it, you read all about World War II and the submarines. It turns out that's the worst job in the war is to be in a submarine. These guys get lost at sea. I mean, the chances of getting lost at sea, I mean, not just die, they never hear, they don't have no idea where you are in the whole sea. And it happened, like seemingly 50% of the people got lost at sea. The most deaths happened in these darn submarines. And it just, and the other thing too is when you see these movies, I mean, it's like spacious, and they're, hey Joe, yelling way down. It's not like they're all on top of each other. They should be all hunkered down to the ceiling down here. It's just crazy, man. I would never. That would be the worst for me. I never would make it.
No. So there's you relate that to the escape room scenario.
Yeah, I would. That would be me. Hey Barry, let's go down to the escape room, and then I would turn into like frothing at the mouth and everything. That was real fun. Let's take Merle down there just for the entertainment.
All right. Hey, moving along. Did you get through more of Chris Voss's book? Do
I
you
did.
want
Yeah.
to talk about that a little bit? I
Yeah.
only did about another hour myself.
I want to tell you that I am getting a great deal out of this book.
Wow.
Again, it is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
Yeah.
And I just got done with the whole section on labeling and the
Mhm.
power of labeling. And as I was finishing that chapter, I realized I had an experience where there's an emotional experience I had, and I dealt with somebody about it. And after the experience, I felt really good about what had happened. I felt very restored and just really good. And when I started thinking about it and reading the book, I started realizing that the guy I was talking to used all the tactics on me.
Really? Oh, that's
Yes,
interesting.
he calmed his voice down and used the late night DJ voice.
Yeah.
Tell me more about how you feel about that. And I started to vent and everything. It seems like you're feeling this way and that way. Yes, that's
Mirroring.
exactly. And then he would be quiet and just listen. And then I would just elaborate and elaborate. No judgment coming from him whatsoever. He was observing. He was getting all the things. He was using labeling. He was mirroring my statements. I would say something, and then he would say, he would just repeat the last few things.
Yeah.
I had no idea he was doing it. That's the whole
Wow.
thing. Is in the book, Chris Voss says, try this out on people, and they'll start elaborating. They'll start sharing. And the thing is I was really mad about this situation, but the more I started to share my feelings, the more I could see things more clearly. I was less emotional. The more that he mirrored and labeled, the more I felt like I was being heard and listened
Wow.
to. It was calming. It was peaceful. I left that situation with a great deal of respect for the other person. I mean, that was magic.
This is a very interesting take, because instead, normally
It's all the way around.
Yeah, I tried this on this person,
Yeah.
and this is no, I love the way you came at that. It's such a revelation.
I didn't even realize it was happening until after it happened. And the thing is I was marveling at how good I felt about the interaction afterwards. And sometimes when you have these emotional things where you're angry about something afterwards, you feel like, gosh, I wish I hadn't have said that. It wasn't like that at all. It was a beautiful experience. It was a high testament to the philosophy, the science actually that Chris Voss is talking about, because it's actually a science. One of the things that he's talking about, he goes into depth on some things, but I think it's called the amygdala. It's a part of your brain that
75%
that harvests
negative.
your fear. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about how labeling really bathes that fear in like an ointment. It bleaches it away. There's a lot of different terms that he uses, but you eliminate those fears right away by coming right at it and exposing it and letting that person talk about it. And as they're talking about it, it just the fear, there's something about the science of labeling your fear. Like you're feeling these feelings and somebody labels it. It seems like you're feeling anxiety over this situation and everything. Well, something about the science of labeling it causes that amygdala not to emit so much fear. That was amazing to me.
It's very simply because you're addressing your fears and talking them through and putting them into a rational focal point, rather than when they go unsaid, then you have an irrational fear to them. So yeah, it is very natural. Our amygdala is 75% negative. And what that is geared for is to try to keep us safe and to say no.
Right.
Yeah. To say no is a place of safety, because then you don't have the fear of, oh, what did I just get myself into? What I found interesting, what you said about your experience having that done, recognizing after the fact that this was applied to you, you said that you walked away from a feeling great about the negotiation. And in a sense, you could say you were the victim of it, in a sense. And what I want to say to that is, did you get to the point, did you remember Chris's story about when he was doing the suicide hotline and his boss, Jim, was a really good guy and really good at the negotiating skills. And so Chris was up for a review, and Jim watches and listens to him on the phone with a regular caller. He calls in all the time, full of anxiety. He's a cabbie. He has that fear of going outside and stuff. And Jim talks him all the way through. Hey, nothing. Has anything happened to you in the last year out there? No. Well, see, everything's fine. Goes on and on. And at the end of the phone call, the guy goes, the cabbie says, man, you need a raise. You're the best. You just did the best job. Thank you. Gets off the call. So Chris is feeling on top of the world. He's having his review right now. Jim walks in and goes, that was the worst negotiation I've ever seen in my life. And Chris is like, what are you talking about? The guy said I was stellar. And he goes, exactly. This is to your point. He should have felt like he did stellar, that he figured it out, that he came to these conclusions. That's what you had. That's the state you were in. Know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, you shouldn't be walking away feeling like that guy was the best salesman in the world. No, you walk away feeling like you won that negotiation and you're really happy.
Well, and that's interesting what you're saying. And there's so many counterintuitive things here. Like, for instance, I got out of that conversation and I felt like, boy, that guy really knows how to handle a conversation. Then I realized I was doing almost all the talking. Just, you know what I mean?
There you go.
Boy, he really, and the calmness that he had really was a big deal here. It's just the way that it just allowed me to open up. So 2 other things. One is that Chris Voss said, when you put a label out there, and just as a review, the label is, you're sensing a person is feeling something. Maybe he's uptight or he's angry about something. And then rather than saying, as Barry said last week, rather than saying like, I see that you feel, instead of saying that I think this, because right away when I say that, it could set up it's
personal, too personal.
It's personal and I'm judging. Mm-hmm. Instead, when I say it seems like, or it looks like, you're experiencing this. It feels like, if you're saying that, then it's non-personal. And if the person says, I didn't feel like that, I'm not feeling like that, then it's like, it just looked like that. It wasn't you. It's so non-personal that it's not offensive. I thought that was a great tip right there. And the other one was, after you put the label out there, don't speak. Let the label do its work. And I think that's human nature. It's a hard thing to put that label out there. It like, for instance, Barry, it looks like you really like to wear that shirt. And then I would follow that up. I should shut up and let Barry tell the story, but instead I might follow up with, where'd you get that? And then I'd ruin the whole effect of the label.
Yeah, because you start putting something into their head to follow up with, but because we don't like dead space. There's that.
That's a big deal, right?
Yeah, it is. But give somebody a chance to think and let them go where they want with it. Because if you said, hey, you seem like you really like wearing that shirt, then what I'm going to say is how it makes me feel. Well, I like this shirt because I got a compliment on it, or it has some kind of a meaning to me, and you want to know that meaning. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're empathizing.
That's it. Exactly. Right. Exactly.
Hey, did you go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, did you get through the 3 different kinds of yes?
No, I did not.
The counterfeit yes, the complacent yes, and then the commitment yes. The counterfeit yes is really important.
Well, let's hear about.
You just okay. You're back. You froze for a minute.
I'm here.
The counterfeit yes is the one where they just want to get rid of you. It's usually when you got the salesperson that's Superman. I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do that for you. I'm going to make your life better. I have all the solutions that you're looking for. And the person will say yes, yes, yes to get rid of you. And then you'll get the real no later. So we've all experienced that. I think we've been on, definitely been on the receiving end of the Superman salesman. And then the complacent yes is really a good tool. It's agreeing to minor things. And you should be careful when using it, but how would you like to free up an hour more time during the day? Well, that's a yes. Would you like to free up more time during the day? Something like that. So that's not a commitment yes, which is number 3. That's the real deal. That is finally signing the deal. I'm sorry, I just have some sporadic notes. So if it seems like I'm skipping around a bit, I did also want to say about no. Many expert negotiators seek out the no's early to get the prospect into that place of safety. As we talked about a few minutes ago, and unearth their fears. Mark Cuban, the owner of that basketball team and who's on Shark Tank,
The Mavericks.
Yeah. Yes. He says he's known to be quoted as saying every no is a stepping stone to the word yes. So he really believes in that methodology of getting the no's out there and out of the way. And so I did a quick exercise, which I would encourage you and anybody listening to this to do as well. How would this apply to my own business and my own sales strategy? And just briefly, what I primarily market myself as is doing lead generation for people online, meaning getting prospects to come to a website, fill out a form, and boom, you got a warm lead. And what I say is I bring these in organically, meaning I up your search engine rankings. I put very good content on your website, push it out to social media, which brings people back, those kinds of things organically as opposed to paid advertising. I also do that for clients as well, but not until I shore up all the other stuff that converts more of your prospects into clients. That's my gig. So 3 questions that work for me to elicit the word no. Do you want to leave thousands of dollars on the table each month? No, heck no. Do you want to get less than half the return on your investment from your online advertising? So if you're going to put $800 into Google AdWords every month, wouldn't you rather convert twice as many of those so that you're spending half the money? So that's how you turn that around. And then lastly, I lost my place. I really did lose my place. Oh,
but you'd segued into the no's, but you had done the first 2 yeses.
I don't understand your question, but I want to read my last question because I had a question.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to be dependent upon high monthly ad spends for your lead generation every month for the rest of your life?
Yup.
Right. So those are really good get to the no questions right away. Get to the resistance, get to what people's problems are. And so once again, I'd like to stress that everybody should just, I did that literally in a minute. I came up with those 3 questions. It wasn't hard once you start thinking about this.
I see what you're saying. It's an interesting way of looking at it. You had mentioned there were, I think, 4 kinds of yeses, and
3.
You covered the first 2. 3. Oh, so
3.
Was that the?
You got your counterfeit, which is to get rid of Superman salesman. You got your complacent, which is just the minor yeses. Wouldn't you like to free up? And then there's a commitment, the actual seal the deal. Yes.
Right.
Along these lines, again, it's skipping around a little bit. I mentioned before a couple of weeks ago, he talks a lot about getting to that's right. It's instead of a yes, he talks about when you get somebody to actually, and he's talking from a kidnapping negotiator point of view. You get them to that's right. And now you're on easy street. You're going to win from here on. This is when you achieve so much empathy that you get to the real core of what their feelings are and what their problems are. And then they are affirming that with that's right. And he's talked his way right out of millions of dollars in hostage. What would you call that? Ransom. And gotten the hostages out alive too by getting to that's right.
What a job that guy had. I mean, can you imagine I obviously he's really good at it, but can you imagine the stress involved in having to deal with a hostage situation? I mean, just even the suicide line thing, that seems like a lot of what a great thing, but what a lot of stress. There's so much on the line right there. It seems like you would need a long vacation after each day of work.
You know, and what's really nice about him, he sounds a bit like, I hate to say that, sounds a little bit like a dummy. His voice, his actual
Do you
voice.
think that's him?
Well, the guy on the
really
audio book is not him. That's
that's what I'm talking. Oh,
hired
it's
help.
not.
I watched a lot of interviews with him, but
you have. Okay.
Here's my real point. He's the first to say, "Look, I'm an average, everyday guy. I don't think that I'm smarter than the average person. But what he is he's open-minded and just kept learning. Stayed curious,
Yeah,
and
it's interesting,
and applied the techniques, got positive reinforcement, and kept going. But as you say too, his stakes were so damn high. It's so important that you're going to take your best advice and try to use it,
One thing I like about him is that he seems extremely humble.
That's my point.
When you think about an FBI guy, you think about a very highly intelligent, highly disciplined person that doesn't make mistakes. He's almost flawless. And this guy, I've heard him refer to himself as a meathead. The meatheads in the FBI.
Yeah.
He's very unassuming. One of the things I really liked about, he talks about all the mistakes he's made, and he just seems like a real guy. And just seeing him in the position where, gosh, if you lose one of these negotiations, people die. Just to hear that personality, that he's a regular guy like you and me, yet highly successful in this, gives me hope that I could be like that, or have these kinds of skills too. Hopefully I'll never have to negotiate anything like he's had to, but definitely everything he's speaking to speaks loudly to a lot of the situations I've been in. And I again highly recommend this to anybody, even if you're not in sales or own a business. Just any relationships, just going to the store, you're going to have these just living life, you're going to have these situations where you need to use this, because it fosters a higher level of a tighter level of human relationship. And then that's like we've talked about in today's day, boy, do we ever need a tool like that.
Yeah, for sure. And I will back up that he is a very humble guy, that he does talk about the mistakes that you make mistakes in order to correct them and get onto your better path. And he just walks you through that stuff. And I felt a little bad. I said, he sounds like kind of a dumb guy. He just sounds like a guy from Brooklyn is what it sounds like. He actually sounds like, not dumb, but just sounds like a guy right off the streets.
Yeah, but he's a normal Joe there.
He is. Hey, I wanted to back up his yes techniques. Remember, he was talking about the counterfeit yeses, and he mentions that's your Superman sales guy that says, I'm going to come in and I'm going to fix this for you. I'm going to solve your problems. And you just say yes to get rid of them. He says, a bad yes technique that we pretty much all have been familiar with is the guy trying to sell you, like, say, a water purifying system. He'll come in and say, do you find water satisfying? Well, what are you going to say? Yes. It's the old yes technique. If you get 3 yeses and then you all of a sudden send them. So the next thing, well, do you prefer water without impurities? No, I like water with tons of garbage in it. So of course you say yes. Then you'd find my value. Then would you find value in my water purifier? And the fact of the matter is, in today's day, that may have worked in the 50s or something, when we were less adept at, hearing these things.
Maybe we were dumber back then.
I think that we just,
I would feel had by that one.
That's exactly
then it. You would like my water purifier. Yeah, exactly. No, I wouldn't. I just like water. Yeah. I could get that out.
This is when you're like, yes. I'll get back to you. Yes. As you're closing the door. Yeah. So
that's a good one.
I really like all of this. And if you want just a little bit more of a sample, go to YouTube and look up Chris Voss, VOSS. And, he'll have an hour interview here and there. I've listened to a few of those, and you'll get something out of it. I'm going to tell you, you're going to get something out of it. We all negotiate almost on a daily basis, no matter who you are.
Yeah, this is really good stuff, and a lot of fun too. And
it is fun.
I'm enjoying the journey here.
Yeah, totally. Hey, let's get into some current events. Let's see what we got going on. I saw lots of stuff. Oh, I wanted to tell you this one thing that I just saw yesterday, and it really freaked me out in a good way. Um, hey, when you
In
think
a good
of
way.
yeah, when you
Cool.
think of Cleveland and LA, what do you think of?
Sunshine and clouds.
I was hoping you might think over 50 starting over because part of the
I
grounding.
was thinking, well, it's warm over here and cold over there.
It is today, let me tell you. Well, there is this. Let's see if I could pull up a little bit about this. But here's my point. At Case, Western Reserve University.
I love that campus, by the way.
Oh, man.
I love it over there.
All right, just a bit of a side. I remember I love riding through there, my bike and stuff.
Oh, it's so
it's
awesome.
so nice. Yes.
University Circle. Yeah.
Yes, it's so nice. I remember like 10 to 15 years ago reading about online that at Case, they did the very first stepping stone in making a Star Trek transporter. They transported an atom from I don't know, 2 miles.
Did they?
Yeah. So
I am positive that there's a way to do this.
There will be. You know what? I was looking at YouTube videos on quantum computers last night. That's the secret, I think, to the Star Trek transporter. And we've made a lot of headway with quantum computers.
Okay. I know very little about this. I saw a documentary on the string theory, and totally makes sense what you're saying, that is how to quantum physics. Yes. And you just stir some of that into it, and somehow, poof, you're going to be able to transport. I don't know how it works, but it's going to work. I know it's going to work.
I know.
Can you imagine not having to go to the airport? I'll be there in 2 minutes, Barry.
It'd be just like what the airplane did for travel. It's the next step. It's like that all over
exactly.
Again. In spades.
Here's what would be bad is now that we're all remote, it's like, yep, I'm working, boss, and all of a sudden he beams into your office.
You're sitting there in your underwear. Yeah.
I'm playing my guitar.
But what you said about string theory and quantum computers is, I remember the one thing that I got out of string theory is that it looks probable that the theory is true, but in order for it to be true, there has to be a minimum of 10 dimensions. And we typically see in a maximum of 3 to 4 dimensions.
Okay, now you've gone way over my head here.
Well,
10 dimensions, man. I'm having a hard enough time with this one dimension.
I know what you're saying. But remember when we were talking about UFOs and we see how they just seem like it shoots way over here? And we talked about, well, it seems like they might be skipping through time a little bit.
Yes.
This is what's tying it all together. Now, I can't talk any more intelligently than what I just said. But if they're skipping between dimensions a little bit, this quantum computer kind of stuff. All right. So anyways,
that's fascinating. We could get off on a whole tangent there.
Not at all what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about when that was
current events. Well, Case Western Reserve,
that's
though.
That's
where you
talk about. Yep. Because, okay, so I said Cleveland and LA. So there's this student in Cleveland. They're doing this test. I'll have to read some of it verbatim, but right now I want to tell you in my own words that he is virtually, he's got this like glove on with this ring on his finger, and he is operating a robotic arm in LA in real time. And listen to this. So when the robotic arm picks up the banana, he feels the banana in his hand in Cleveland. Think about that. Because this ring in this glove is connecting his neurons to the sensors in the robotic arm in LA.
So this for instance, like a brain surgeon could operate on somebody on the other side of the world.
That is exactly a scenario that they used in this article. They said, well, what are we going to do with that? That is exactly one of those scenarios that they put in here. So let's see. Read a little bit of this. Here's a quote. One of the students here in Cleveland was essentially moving his hand with which the robot in UCLA was mimicking And so he was grabbing with that robot and could feel when a banana was put in his hand, and he felt like he was
Amazing.
holding it in his hand in Cleveland. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
This began with the prosthetics work, where we had people that would have an artificial limb. Of course, they could put it on, they could touch something, and they could feel it in their hands. So it's the very beginnings of this kind of stuff. And I want to get to where they talked about the actual situations. Oh, like this one, roadside bombs, deactivating roadside bombs.
Oh, wow, that's a big one.
That's a huge one. Yeah. So it's one of the most dangerous jobs in the military.
They already send the robot in there.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful.
But when you need a real hand in there.
Yeah, you need some good dexterity there.
Yeah. Just scratching the surface of this stuff. I can't find the other stuff, but I did read about the whole surgeon in there at some point doing work remotely anywhere in the world. So that's enough of that. Let's move on. But I just thought this one was fascinating.
That's actually really cool. I like that. My dad took classes down at Case Western Reserve. So my grandfather, he graduated. That's where he got his law degree.
Oh, fantastic.
So lots of history down there that I have too, and I just love that area. So
me too.
Boy, so we're seeing some interesting stuff here in California, Barry. Over the last week, the very severe restrictions that we've had here in California have been lifted, but that doesn't mean all the restrictions have been lifted. So here's what it means. I can go outside again and go for a walk, or I could ride my bicycle. So I'm free. I've been outside now and just, walking around, other than essential stuff like going to the store and everything. I've gone on a couple of walks and realized that the 7 weeks of not going on walks have actually taken a toll here.
Oh, that's terrible.
Bloody when I came back
that's
and
awful.
everything. It's a terrible thing, isn't it? That, this has an impact on everyone's health. You could say, well, I'm going to exercise at home, but after a little while of not being able to go outside, you become very sedentary. You just don't want to move around. And I also was experiencing just pain in my body from not using it.
Sure.
It's really something. So anyhow, it was kind of surprising though, Barry. I was pretty happy about this. Oh, wait, let me just continue. There's still a lot of things I can't do. Today they're opening up outdoor restaurants, so you can eat outside again. This is so funny to say it like that because I'm excited about it, but at the same time, it's like you eat outside. Just if that were any normal day, like I am allowed to eat outside. It just seems.
But
crazy,
it's amazing
right?
To me that it comes at such a height. And what got better? What got better with the coronavirus situation?
Nothing. Okay, here's what they're doing. This is so weird. Is they're saying that because I asked the same question. What got better? So I started to look at the statistics. Now the reason for the lockdown was the ICUs, the capacity of the ICUs, and we actually surpassed 100% capacity here in Los Angeles County. And so they lifted it on Monday. So I immediately looked at what's the capacity level. Well, it's 101%. It's over. They're over capacity. What's the transmission rate? Dangerous. It was like 0.76. It said it was dangerously high. And I'm seeing reports that there's a new strain coming.
Yeah.
And they were having, like, in this county alone, there's like 7,600 new cases every day, very high. So nothing's changed. So I started to listen to the health, I think it's the health ministry or something like that here in Los Angeles County. And they gave a webinar yesterday about here's what to expect. And they started talking about how dangerous it is out there and that it's still dangerous, but they've got a 14-day prediction model that says these numbers are going to go down. So the lift is based on the prediction of where we're going to be 14 days from now. And so then they went on to say, how they could turn these restrictions on at any second without warning, and don't get together with people, and don't go and have a Super Bowl party. And basically, you can leave the house, but don't. That's pretty much what I heard from them. But,
well,
go
I'm
ahead.
looking at the graph for California. I look at these all the time.
Yeah.
And you guys are, I'm going to have to say, and I was thinking about a week ago, it looks like you guys are way over the hump and are starting to go down. But a week later, I can say you guys are definitely going down. And Ohio and the country in and of itself is also, it's all going down on the other side.
I think that there's something else going on here, because at the same time here in California, we have something called the recall. And I think these two things seem to be coordinating in a very suspicious way. The recall that's happening right now. Let's see. Let's just look at this for a second. What do you got there, Barry?
This is California.
Okay.
And so you see, like last week, you guys were about right here. And I was like, it looks like you are heading on a downward trend. Well, yeah, you certainly are. Thank God is what I can say. Remember what I said last week is I heard on the radio that they said 1/3, it's estimated 1/3 of you guys in LA County either have or had COVID. And I said, cool, you guys should be hitting herd immunity soon. I wonder if some of that is playing into this. This is a nice trend, man. And let's go. That's new cases. Let's see deaths. Woo. Well,
they've been saying that the death rate has been going up, and same with the whole lockdown was strictly due to the ICU levels, Barry.
Wow.
And so when you take a look at this, ICU levels are still sky high, and they've taken away those severe restrictions. And so this is what I'm trying to explain. I think there's another reason why this is happening, and it's called the recall. Are you familiar with what's happening with Governor Newsom out here?
A bit, but what you talking about?
There's a recall that's happened.
Oh, I know all about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the
deal. I agree with you. Yeah.
Barry, since the severe lockdowns have happened, there was this recall that was happening all along, even before COVID. There was talk, we got to get rid of Gavin Newsom, but since December, a bunch of investors got involved with this, and because of the dissatisfaction here in California, and the way that this works here in California is pretty interesting. If you can get 12% of the voting population, or whoever voted for the last governor election, 12% of the signatures of that amount, which happens to be 1.5 million here. As of last week, we were at 1.2 million signatures and counting. and now it's getting dangerously close to the end where a recall is actually going to be triggered.
Right.
Once a recall is triggered, this happened once before here in California in 2003. Once a recall is triggered, a recall election happens almost immediately. And any number of people can be involved in that as far as being a candidate. In 2003, Gray Davis was actually recalled. This is only the second time since the 1920s that a governor in the country has ever been recalled, and the third time it's been tried. Tim Scott, I think in Wisconsin, they tried to do a recall a few years ago. It didn't work. But so Gray Davis got recalled, and immediately they had an election. And of course, Gray Davis could save his job, but he didn't. He lost it to Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's how Arnold got in. There were 100 other people that were running against Gray Davis. Can you imagine that? Like, you got a ballot with over 100 people and you just got to select one. So Arnold got the most of all of those votes.
And it's just name recognition.
And interestingly, it was a Republican that won in a state that Republicans never win in.
It's because of name recognition.
You could say Arnold's not really a classic Republican.
Yeah.
He's extremely liberal. But the thing is that this could happen to Gavin Newsom. So suddenly these things are happening when the recall signatures are tipping the scales, and it's like, everything's getting better. But we just looked at the statistics, and it doesn't look like it's getting better. So it's the weirdest thing, Barry, because it's like, the logic that's coming out last week, what happened was before all this recall, before all of this lifting of the restrictions happened, Gavin Newsom was talking about a plan that he had to eventually lift it, but he wouldn't release the details to the public because he said it was too complicated for us to understand. Well, I think they got a whole bunch more signatures as soon as he said that. And here's what's also interesting. At the same time, you've got your usual suspects. You got Mario Cuomo in New York. You've got Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. And you've got Mayor Lightfoot in Chicago. All three of them, including Gavin Newsom, are saying, we've got to open up everything. And it's only been a little over a week since Joe Biden got elected. So really, it kind of feels like the COVID crisis was actually caused by Donald Trump. And he's the one that's caused everyone to get COVID. And now that Joe Biden's in, it's going away.
You know, Lisa is avid. I can't even believe I'm saying this. She watches MSNBC like every morning, and
somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, and Morning Joe. That's what I said. I go in there and get my coffee, and I just got to get out of there because he's screaming. He's probably not screaming. He's probably singing now. But she said, Lisa goes, "This really made me angry." Is they always had in the lower bottom right corner.
The COVID ticker.
Mm-hmm.
They took it away. Yep.
As soon as Biden got in.
As soon as Biden got in, they had it on CNN as well. They took it down. And I mean, it's just
wow.
Look, the CDC came out earlier this week to say that the testing numbers are skewed. They feel like they've attributed way more cases to COVID than actually are real, and they feel like their testing is way off here. In the meantime, we have the school crisis that's going on here, and the CDC has also come out to say the school kids really aren't at risk, and neither are the teachers. By the way, average age of teachers is about 35 today. They're just not in that vulnerable state yet. We're hearing from the new president that he's supporting the school unions, teacher unions, and these kids might not see school again until sometime after 2022. Imagine what that's doing to these kids.
That's terrible.
Yeah,
I can't see that. No, I can't see that.
I can't see it either. But look, I mean, can you believe we're actually coming up to almost a year on these lockdowns? A year.
Yeah.
They said it was going to be 6 weeks at first, and now we're at almost.
That's what I thought. I mean, I remember saying on the podcast, we'll be over this before you know it. And that was it started. We were hearing about it when we were Lisa and I were in Florida last year. And we were kind of laughing. We saw a couple people on the plane with masks on, and we were kind of snickering to ourselves about it. 1 week later, we were in lockdown.
Yeah, and now you can't even fly on a plane without a mask. And I remember seeing the one person with a mask before COVID. Yeah, and we'd always be like,
I know.
But then if you had a seat assignment next to somebody with a mask, it was like,
yeah. What did they got?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I like flying Southwest. You can always pick that middle seat and get away from that person.
Nice.
There's always a middle seat somewhere.
Hey, did you hear that General Motors plans to go exclusively to electric vehicles by 2035?
That's interesting because here in California, the governor signed into law some kind of plan that we would be all electric. No cars that are fossil fuels would be sold here in California at around that same time.
I think it was. I think it was 2035, as I recall.
Look at what's happening to the fossil fuel industry here over the last week. We gotta be careful about that kind of thing. You could really rock this incredibly fragile economy with messing with fossil fuels because it's so integral to our economy right now. I will say, General Motors, though, their stocks went up. Where to go? At a high of 7.4%. They rose as much as 7.4% yesterday morning, and seemed to settle around at a rise of 3.5% yesterday midday.
So I just thought that was kind of interesting. I think that we would have been off gasoline, petroleum a long time ago if it wasn't for the power of the energy companies. I really believe that. I think that as humans just evolve and everything, it sounds to me, fossil fuels, burning that stuff, it sounds very 20th century. I
Well,
think we need to get beyond it, but we
I
need to be
understand what you're saying.
carefully.
I get it. And something about that, Barry, and I don't know everything about this, but I have heard that, just to produce electricity does cause a lot of carbon emission as well to produce the electricity. So it's hard to get away from this energy kind of thing here. I don't know what's good, but gosh, you're looking at these guys. You're right, Perry. The fossil fuel industry here in this country is something like 20% of our economy. It's a really large part of our economy. And we're already seeing through executive order that those things are some of these people are being impacted. But did you see John Kerry talking about the coal miners that are being displaced as a result of the executive order and what he had told them that they could do?
That they should start taking coding classes, I believe.
He was telling them that the new place to go now is into wind technician, windmill technician,
build solar panels or
building
something.
solar panels. And a lot of people took that in a bitter sort of way because first, these people, it seemed insensitive. And this they've lost their job.
Very lucrative job.
The technician, these jobs are like $20 an hour less in pay than what they're getting right now. And also, it's not like, okay, I live someplace in Pennsylvania and now I'll just start going to the solar power factory and working over there. They've got to get up and maybe even move out here to California or something. And when we just saw a statistic that said something like 50% of the population, if they had to pony up $400 for a car repair, that they don't have it. And so, I mean, if people don't have $400 for a car repair, you certainly don't have enough money to pack up all your stuff, leave all your connections behind and move out to another state. This is a tough thing for these people, and it's been hammered on them right away. And I think there should be a little more compassion for what's happening here.
Me too. I mean, all of the unprecedented executive orders in this very delicate time that we're in right now. I think, as you said, way too heavy-handed, especially when, they have control of the House and Senate, and you could be doing these things in a more traditional way.
Right.
And have the American population buy in more, but also, my God, just how about we just ease up with the radical change during a delicate time?
I'm telling you, and when you take a look at this impeachment that's happening, we had a vote this last week in the Senate about the constitutionality of moving forward with this impeachment. We've talked all about this and my beliefs about what it says. And it's not my beliefs; it just says it plainly in the Constitution that what they're allowed to do, and none of this fits into it. Convicting a president of impeachment after he's left office is not in the Constitution. And remember what I said, the Constitution is limited and enumerated, meaning that everything the federal government can do is in there. And if you can't do it, it's not in there. And it's just not in there. You can't do it. So anyway, but they voted against it. 45 of the 50 Republicans voted that it was unconstitutional. And here's what that means. It means this conviction is dead in the water. It's not going to happen. So going through with this is really a waste of taxpayer dollars, because the real goal is to get Trump from not running again. But I don't think that's the real goal. But we're going to see that whole thing play out. They need about 60 votes, 63 votes, I think, 63 to get the 2/3 majority vote to impeach. And that means that every single Republican would have to uh, they would actually need about 15 more Republicans to vote for impeachment. If they already feel that it's unconstitutional, they're not going to impeach if they already feel it's not even legal to do it. So this is a waste of time.
All right, just a quick question on semantics there. But isn't it correct that he is already technically impeached? It's just rather if it's
convicted of impeachment, right? You can't convict it. But the Senate, if we look at Article 3 in or Article 1, Section 3 in the Constitution, that's where it talks about the Senate and its ability to impeach. They have this is interesting. They have the ability to impeach or convict the president of impeachment. He's not the president any longer. He's the ex-president. It also says that the chief justice has to preside over the impeachment. And if you were watching the news, Chief Justice Roberts actually declined to preside over this impeachment. Now, interestingly, the news isn't actually going in to talk about why he has declined to do that. And Senator Leahy is now going to be presiding over it, a Democrat who also voted for impeachment the last time around. So, here in America, when you have a trial, and I know this isn't a legal trial, but how fair is it if the judge already voted to impeach you, or the guy that's presiding over it? He says it's going to be fair, but it's hard to say. I wouldn't want to be in those shoes. But I mean, here's the deal, Barry. If the impeachment were to, if the Senate were to convict Trump, there's something called judicial review. And that means that when laws or anything the Senate and House passes into law, that the Supreme Court can take a look at that and judge whether or not it's constitutional or unconstitutional. So I'm sure that Chief Justice Roberts knows that the whole thing I just talked about the Constitution, if he were to be convicted, this would probably end up at the Supreme Court, and Chief Justice Roberts would probably have to recuse himself because he presided over the unconstitutional thing. So it's just interesting stuff that's going on, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way because, as you said before, I think it's a huge waste of taxpayers' money. But there's so many things still. Trump is still having such an effect on the government through the hateful acts of just overturning anything that he did during his presidency out of sheer hate. And as I said, we're in too delicate of a time to be rocking the boat so much.
It seems like that in the past, when I've seen where the House, you had a very tightly divided presidential election. You've got a very narrow majority in both houses for the Democrats. And that means that if you were to work together, and let's say, for instance, if the Democrats were able to convince some of the Republicans to go along with their deal, they'll be able to pass stuff all day long. When you have those close majorities, those tight majorities, then working together is what really pays off. When you have a super majority, you can pretty much do whatever you want, but they don't have that. So you would think in this particular environment that they would want to work closely together. But what we've seen with the almost 30 executive orders, that Joe Biden can now just bypass Congress and act like a king.
And wasn't that how Biden was being sold, as the guy that can reach across the aisle, that he's moderate and that he can get both sides, unity, all that BS?
It's funny that you're saying that, because there's a lot of things that Biden had sold before he became president that he reversed within the last week. One of them was him saying, even as he was president-elect, that we got to get these kids back into the school. And immediately that's not the case. He's now sided with the teachers unions, and we've got a lot with the Pennsylvania thing with the XL pipeline. He was saying, "Oh no, I'm not gonna eliminate fossil fuel," and here he's doing that, and immediately in the Pennsylvania, and then also in Arizona and Nevada, he's put a moratorium on drilling. A lot of things at the border. He tried to put a moratorium on deportations. A federal judge stepped up and put a stay on that. But a lot of the things he said he wasn't going to do seems like they're happening. And for a president that really was talking about unity, boy, this is creating anything but unity right now.
It is. Here's just switching gears a little bit. I just wanted to mention this. I have a link for you guys in the notes that if you sign up for over50startingover.com, if you sign up to our email list in the pop-up that comes up, you'll get this right into your email box. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple and Facebook are going at it, man. And this is a good thing. It's a good
I agree.
thing. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, says of Facebook, it says Facebook's business model, what he says of it, says they value engagement over privacy. This leads to, quote, polarization and, quote, violence. And that is, see, here's the whole thing. And I think Apple has taken this opportunity smartly of the awareness of the privacy problems that we're having with social media. Well, Apple's not too big into social media. They're in the biggest thing ever has been the iPhone, obviously the computers. But he goes on and talks about how their mission statement is that we have technology that's to enhance your life and you leave it behind when you want to go outside and go for a walk, go to bed, whatever. If it doesn't make your life better, we don't make it. But he says social media, he was talking about Facebook in particular, is completely the opposite. You as a human being is now the product, and they are data mining all of your information and selling it to the highest bidders.
Well, that's exactly what Rex has been telling us, isn't it?
Right. And so he goes on to say that the privacy laws need to very much be stepped up. He talks a lot about the GDPR, which I only had vaguely heard about before, so I had to look it up. So the GDPR is the General Data Protection Regulation, and it's a legal framework that sets guidelines for the collection and processing of personal information from individuals who live in the EU, European Union.
Mm-hmm. I'm familiar with this.
So he's like, we got to adopt that and take it further. So yes. I'm all about that. Facebook came out.
Yeah,
and says that Apple is now their number one competitor, and they frame this like small businesses are the ones that are going to be hurt the most if you do this to us, because they're not going to be able to do effective targeted advertising with Facebook.
Interesting. Facebook.
Oh, that's terrible. That's a terrible turn for Facebook to try to save face. Look, they're facing, in my opinion, a catastrophic breakdown, because Apple is coming out in their next update of their iOS. You will have to opt in to let social media apps data mine you instead of that happening by default. Think about it. Who the hell is going to opt in on that?
Yeah, no one's going to opt in on this, but boy, this is exposing everybody right now because of, I mean, this is everything Rex has been telling us, everything you just said. Rex Lee, whom we've had on the show several times, has said these exact same things, and people said he was crazy, and he figured it out. But now these guys, it's great that they're now infighting. I don't trust it, though. If these guys have so much more to gain by collaborating the way that they have, and also that the government obviously is not going to step in and do their job and stop them from the antitrust violations that the numerous ones they've already broken. I would love to see what Tim Cook is talking about, sort of like a consumer bill of rights when it comes to our protections here. That's what they're doing in the European Union. I'm hearing that that's working well, but I'm not sure. Just the whole regulation thing happening here, it seems like every time regulation happens, it sounds really good, but it always comes back and bites us. So I don't know the answer to this, but something has to be done. And one of the problems I'm seeing, I was just talking to my daughter about this last night, is that Congress is in charge of this, because you've got the Commerce Clause, everything is interstate commerce happening on the internet. So this falls directly into Congress. And we've seen them pull these guys in several times. Nothing ever happens. And we wonder why nothing ever happens. But then when you look at the multiple homes and mansions that these people have in Congress, dude, they're not getting paid. The president doesn't even get $500,000 a year. A CEO of a Fortune 500 company sometimes is getting $10 million a year. And these people that the senators, the congressmen, they're making like half that. How do they get those mansions? Well, it comes from the lobbyists. We know that's what happens. And so they're just not motivated to make any changes because the big money is coming from big tech. So we can't look forward to seeing them do anything. They'll have show trials. We've seen them. They yell, they get their feathers all ruffled, and then nothing changes. Usually what happens is the big tech gets even more privileges.
Yeah, because they'll throw out some kind of a package and backload it with a bunch of crap. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. They say, "Oh, we're going to do this," but it actually works out to their advantage.
But there's a positive with a company the size and power of Apple to backing this up and raising the awareness. We've had, and Apple talks about, Tim Cook talked about how, look, we had advertising for dozens of decades before social media, and it worked just fine while maintaining personal privacy. And I think that's a very good point.
Well, here's something to just ponder is that Tim Cook and Apple have known this has been happening all along. They're not dumb. They're very smart. They have benefited from it tremendously. They knew that there was all these app permissions that were buried inside of these applications, and there's app permissions on the Apple the iPhone. They're tracking stuff too, because Apple has their own apps that are in there as well. They're doing the same thing. This is sort of like what is it? You're calling, I can't remember the expression, but they're calling Facebook out for something they've been doing too, and they've been complicit in. And it's funny, they're coming out now and saying it like this, as if it's a big revelation that we all should be like, oh my gosh, Tim Cook, you're such a great guy. And when we start to take a look at the labor practices that are happening in China and all of the equipment that's coming over there, and the Uyghurs that are in concentration camps that we are suspecting are making our iPhones right now out of slave labor, these guys are not innocent.
Well, okay, so that was a positive story that went right down the tubes.
I like my iPhone, though. Too bad I had to pay $1,000 for it.
I think that there's
cool.
a chance that some things, some very necessary things, may start taking some movement in the right direction. Because I got to tell you, I think that movie, The Social Dilemma, had a huge impact. It created a lot of awareness.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to start wrapping things up. I don't have a lot to share on the lighter side, except a slight update that I forgot to share last week, and that is about Tom Seipel, the Browns fan.
Yeah. So he went to that last game, right?
He did. And
how
stayed
awesome.
in Baker Mayfield and his wife Emily's suite, private suite at the. So yeah,
remind us, what was his problem again? He
cancer, terminal cancer. He literally said that he had 2 weeks. He was told he had 2 weeks to live, and I forget.
He was thanking the Browns, and in his thank you letter said,
he just
"Guys,
wanted to see
gave us a great ride. It looks like you might go to the Super Bowl. I don't think I'm going to last until then, but good luck. You've given me a great ride." I got goosebumps.
And he said, "I can die happy now."
I mean, come on. And then then the Browns invited him out to this glorious.
And he got to see the game live, the playoff game live. Yes. So I was looking for an update. Like, did the poor guy pass yet? The latest I could find, it was well over a week ago, is January 16th. I saw a thread on Reddit. And people were asking, "Hey, did you hear about any news on Tom Seipel?" And he replied finally, said, "I'm hanging in there." He's in hospice now. "Thanks for asking. I ain't dying until this season's over." This was like right before the very last game, because they went to the second round of the playoffs.
Right.
He went to the first playoff game.
Oh, that they won. Okay, because I'm happy to hear that.
Yes. So he says, "I ain't dying until this season's over. At least that's the plan. Thanks for the prayers."
Okay,
So,
I'm actually really happy that he went to that Steelers game and that they
yes.
won, because I mean, what's better? They win and they beat the Steelers. That's a double bonus right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. I went through like 6 pages of Google searches looking for another update to him. I'm going to assume that he probably passed in this time frame, but I don't know that. I haven't heard anything. But last I heard, I said that I would give an update. That's my latest update. It was January 16th. He was hanging in there and seemed
Well,
quite happy.
God bless him and his family. That is
Absolutely.
quite a story right there.
And that will wrap it up for us. And please go to Over 50 Starting Over. Sign up there or give us a like and a share on our YouTube channel. But you should just get on your smartphone, pull up your podcast app, and sign up for our podcast there so you can listen to this on your earbuds in your spare time. It's the way I like to do it. All right, Merle. Talk to you next week. Love you,
All
everybody.
right. Love you
brother.
too. All right. Take care.